my heart it just literally stopped. And then the tweets started to roll.
This was such a great campaign.
The power of a great team.
Manifest it into being.
Manifest it into being. I love this. Some creators wait to be discovered. Others build their own pipeline.
Today, we break down one of the greatest blueprint stories in modern media.
The Sixth Suite, Episode 1, The Pipeline Problem.
Hello and welcome. I'm Claire Ravenstreet.
And I'm Nikki Stone. And this is The Sixth Suite.
We're two senior media and C-level suite executives who have spent our lives building brands within the system. And we have actually had the pleasure of working together before, and we noticed a gap in the conversation around leadership.
There was a lot of stories about what Trailblazers had accomplished, but the Sixth is all about deconstructing the how. We created Six because we believe that true lasting disruption isn't about one single good idea, it's about that sixth sense. The blend of strategic resilience and deep intuition, the kind of unconventional thinking that allows you to see things from all angles and truly architect an innovative solution.
So in each episode, we put a leader, a brand, or a business under the microscope. And as the architect of influence, I ask the questions about the external strategy. So how did they build their team? Where did they get their resources? How did they shape the narrative?
As the architect of growth, I explore the internal journey. Where did the resilience to persevere come from? How did they build a culture to withstand the pressures of scaling? And how did they balance growth with their core values?
This podcast is for the next generation of leaders. It's for the founders, the executives, and the innovators who are ready to move beyond inspiration and build a tangible blueprint for change.
Ultimately, the Sixth is for anyone who feels like the system can be rebuilt to be more equitable. You know, we chose this episode specifically because we are in this part of, in time almost, where we're witnessing the end of the gatekeeping era and really seeing the building of the infrastructure era.
Yeah, absolutely. The creator to industry pipeline's just broken. It just disappeared. You've got just too much investment, too much at stake for the big networks to take a chance on the little guy. And what you're finding is that means that these diverse audiences are just lost. They don't have an outlet to be able to change minds, to even suit an audience. There's all these audiences out there that just don't see themselves reflected on the big screen. And that means that kind of the whole dynamic shifted away into kind of YouTube, into TikTok dramas. You're seeing the rise of short form content, but it's actually developed into long form content. YouTube now has huge series on there. And I'd also say you've got this kind of dichotomy with AI, where it's so beneficial for small creators. They can think of an idea and now they can bring it to life without huge film crews, without all the expense that goes along with it. But then on the other hand, you're finding that AI is taking over jobs. You're seeing, especially in the advertising industry, all of these ads, and thankfully a lot of kind of uproar about it, just being made solely with AI, and all of these creators out of a job.
It absolutely. And Hollywood has really seen this creator correction happening, from the writer's strike to the rise of obviously influencers. It really felt like when executives lost touch with culture, the disconnect was just so massive that it really made way for new heads of studio. And that's really where the Issa Rae conversation becomes super exciting, because people were starting to see her as this new head of studio and really what that meant.
Yeah, even before she even became the head of a studio.
She was really somebody who networked across her industry. She didn't wait to network up. She really found all of those people that she wanted to take with her on the journey, and she started building the Hooray empire, really. That's the only word I can think to describe it. It wasn't just about making shows, but really owning that pipeline for the talent that Hollywood was ignoring.
Yeah, even after she built her web episode, she then hosted a load of other Black creators on her YouTube channel. It's exactly that pipeline.
And then we get the privilege today of also talking with Deb Hall, who's here. She's going to be joining us here in studio today. The most excited for this because really Deb co-founded Dive Billboard, and that is really somebody who built the pipelines from the digital world to the real world. It's an exciting episode for us.
Absolutely. So before we dive in, what should we start with?
Well, I like to start with the good news. And that is that, we are getting more cultured in our content consumptions these days.
Absolutely. Lots of content from back home for me, from the UK. We've got so much more access to K-dramas, like being able to access through the YouTubes, the TikToks of the world. You're no longer siloed by what an executive thinks that you want to watch. And actually, you can see all of these small creators and what they think the world wants to see. And it turns out that's exactly what we want to watch.
Well, it turns out that is 100% true, Claire. You're absolutely right. 60% of content with Netflix this year was brought in from other markets, and so not actually created in North American studios. But of course, with that, there is a downside, and that is that 42% of TV writing jobs have gone away.
And that's obviously also extended into advertising. The new Omni IPG merger that just happened, 4,000 job cuts this year, but actually before the merger, they kind of snuck in about 3,000 job cuts each. So you're looking at combined about 10,000 people losing their jobs, all under the guise of a more efficient, bigger, badder model.
Consolidation. Consolidation's really interesting, and you're right. So that because of that merger, we actually saw the media side saw as an industry an increase of 18% year over year in job cuts. So this year had 17,000 job cuts in 2025. But what is interesting about the history of that is when we've seen consolidation in the past like this, there's been two really interesting times in recent history where we've seen what's called the salary dump kind of consolidation as a way of increasing profitability and organizational profitability. And when they do that, when they do salary dumps, they tend to look at executives, these higher level jobs. But with that, also means that you're getting rid of a lot of institutional knowledge. Now, not that I love companies getting rid of a lot of institutional knowledge. That's not the good news story here. The good news story is that both times that we've seen this recently, which was the dot-com crash, and actually where I started my career, is it brought the Web 2.0 boom and tons of innovation, because what you had was a lot of executives with a lot of time and resources and skills that were now pooling together and creating disruption. And that was Web 2.0. And then we saw this same thing happen again in the financial crisis. And that really drove home the sharing economy and the rise of the sharing economy, also where you know that I've spent several years of my career and love the sharing economy. Those types of huge innovation pockets really stem from these types of mass consolidations and that we've seen over time. So like the good news story is that,
might get something good out. I wonder if this time it will actually be the kind of AI boom that comes off back of it. Obviously, we've seen it happening. Came back from my second maternity leave. Before I left, everyone was talking about it. It was in every pitch, and it was in the back end of everyone's tool, but individuals weren't interfacing with it. Like, we weren't using agents. We weren't figuring out how to use prompts. I come back, and I feel like it's a completely different world. Like, everyone's using it to rewrite their emails really badly. Everyone needs to check that shit. But then also just in documents, in presentations, in design, like I feel like maybe that kind of group of executives, maybe that's where they're now going to focus. We're seeing obviously so many startups coming out of that world.
Well, and you know what? I think you're spot on there, Claire, because when we look at the micro markets, that has now grown to $450 billion.
Yeah, in the creator economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been so this huge rise that's there over the last few years, which is really when we've seen this shift start to happen in these industries. But now we're seeing the true effects of it. And I happen to think that this is really where you're going to see the big
shift.
innovation.
Yeah, and also with that is all the D2C brands. So those small creators identifying gaps in the market and producing their own, whether it's content or if it's products. And we're seeing them cutting out the middleman and actually going direct to consumers and building their own base. Being able to actually use the market research, change what they are delivering and how they're delivering it, and delivering it straight to people.
Yeah.
So with the D2C, the gatekeepers are panicking, like they're being usurped. And just like with the likes of Issa, with the likes of Deb Hall, you're seeing people moving forward and innovating into that space.
I think if we're going to start with this one, we really have to start with the no that sparked her empire. And because it wasn't a no, it was a non-no. It was Hollywood not knowing where she fit in or how to unlock that talent. It was painfully obvious that they just didn't have a pipeline that was big enough for her target market.
And they didn't think she had an audience. And so she started a blog back in 2010 or something. And if you remember when blogs first started getting big, and she was reviewing all of the TV at the time, it was just so stereotypical for her. It just wasn't showing her experience as a black woman and her friends. It was all reality TV and all of these stereotypes. And so she was bitching on this blog. And she calls out that there was a moment when someone said, well, you keep complaining about it. Why don't you make something? And so that was her kind of turning point, 2011. She made Awkward Black Girl. And it was she asked, I think, her sister to film. I think she had a call out and just kind of random actors that needed roles and kind of brought them on board and wrote it.
I think she used Beyonce's producer from the, what was the name of the video, one of her music videos, and brought her over, and that's how she got her TV producing start. And the same was with Yvonne, her co-star. She met her at a party, and they had total chemistry, and she was like, "Yeah, you need to come work with me."
Yeah, she said Yvonne turned up at her dad's house to do the first filming, and they had to do this awkward in a long hallway kind of scene, and then she left and was like, oh, well, I guess that was acting experience, and then didn't realize it was going to blow up into, obviously, the internet sensation that it was.
The thing that I think I can appreciate here is that when she got called out like that of why don't you do something, she got down to business. She got architecting, she got writing, she got figuring out how she was going to build the whole ecosystem because no one was going to do that for her.
Well, her sixth sense was understanding that niche audience that she had been told just wasn't kind of there. Her sixth sense was she knew it. She had already seen it. Mm-hmm. She had experienced it. And so she kind of, architected the whole thing so that she could take advantage of this audience that was being underserved.
And the best part about her whole way up is how much I love the term rising tides raise all ships. If I say that at least once a day, it's an understatement, but I do believe that genuinely. And so the notion of being able to build this empire with your friends and the people who were in the trenches with you and that you came up with is the bittersweet moment for me today here, because obviously here with you, you've been in the trenches with me for sure. And Deb, our guest, Deb Hall, co-founder of Dive Media, and super fangirl of hers. I know you are too. And everything that she's built, what a full circle moment for me today.
Yeah. And Issa, just like Deb, like when they built their kind of empires, let's call them, like they started from an idea that they had seen, but they listened, whether it was to their friends or in the case of Deb, listening to kind of like all of that feedback. So one of the things I love about Awkward Black Girl, so it starts off being like a 3-minute series, like the first episode's 3 minutes, second one's 4 minutes. But actually, all the comments were asking for more, for longer. And at that time, YouTube was like short clips. No one thought it would be longer than that. I think it's like 6 or 7 episodes is that whole season. The last one's 11 minutes. Like she more than tripled the length of the content because she was listening to what people said in the comments. Yeah. And there's also, there's a character in it.
Talk about using data as like your powerhouse of
100%.
like live feedback, live commentary.
Yeah, so there's a character called White Jay. She's Black Jay in it, and the love interest is White Jay. He was only meant to be in it for like an episode or two, but the comments loved him so much, and they just loved the awkwardness of the two of them together, that they rewrote the entire rest of the season to include him, and he was then in like all the seasons from then on.
The whole premise of that show, as an awkward woman myself, is so hysterical to watch. I've absolutely watched it with my kids, and they've like called me out on the character similarities.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, I think also what she took from those comments, she then kind of readdressed it and put it all together. So when she did eventually go to HBO and want to create Insecure, which was her kind of like first network show,
oh my gosh,
she already had all of that data. Like as the architect of influence, like that is just the epitome of shaping your narrative, being able to take all of that information and create it into your pitch so that then it's kind of undeniable. She had identified that audience, her sixth sense, and then she built that data off the back of all of those like YouTube comments that most people just ignore or laugh at.
And honestly, Claire, as the architect of growth POV, it is stuff like that that really ignites a culture to become resilient and band together. And because you are watching those data points, you're watching those metrics, you're seeing what your audience is, you're adapting to them, you're seeing how leaned in they are. And because you're growing with something and you're living in this sort of like breathing, growing ecosystem together, there's a natural resilience that's built in because you're so open to the notion of improving, of change, of feedback and implementation, and not ego fueling these like ideas that this is the way something has to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think she probably took that, obviously, when you work with an HBO or any kind of big network, you're then kind of giving up a bit of your power. You're having to listen to even more feedback and from very good points, but also from a completely different point. She started on this YouTube series. She could rewrite stuff. She could work in the moment. And then suddenly you're working with like a big player that's a lot more solid. She was talking about lots more steps that you have to get through. To her credit, she says it's great because I got paid for all those steps, whereas when you're doing a web series, you obviously don't. You're doing it off the own back. But it meant that you have to be more methodical. You have to take on feedback that maybe previously you wouldn't have had to. So she like adapted as she went in that way.
Well, and I think the great thing about how she approached this is that she came with like pipes already in place because she had built her own infrastructure and like deep-rooted talent roots. She built Color Creative, which was like one arm of the Hooray enterprise. And when she did that, she was able to bring that with her to HBO as like additional backdrops in, hey, this is how we can cast, and really continue to lean into what she had already built while improving it with HBO, which was like 10 years of fighting to get from the small screen to the big screen, like hardcore bootstrapping. I think I remember seeing that she did a crowdfund or a Kickstarter. Thank you.
Yeah, I think she wanted 30 grand and she ended up with 56. And that was to fund the rest of the first season. And then Pharrell came in and funded the whole of the second series with his I Am Other YouTube channel. So like she built the network, and then obviously a great in Pharrell saw that and saw what she'd built and the community that she had, and then like helped her build it. But then, she's continued that with her. She's got 2 books, hairline, makeup line, jewelry line. Yeah, like she had that kind of contextual IQ to see where she sat in the world and all these other opportunities that were also underserved. Like she saw that on the web in terms of the content, and then she's seen it in hair care for Black women, and how there was a niche there that was actually mainstream that she could also help with.
Absolutely. And like the notion that niche is not mainstream, like completely out of date, because she just went and drilled straight down, all the way down, and she was like, I am going to own my segment so deep that the relationships that I have with my audiences are going to follow the whole ethos, that's the power move.
Yeah. And that's possible because it's so global, because of the breakdown of those gatekeepers. Now she can speak to someone on the other side of the ocean who has exactly the same kind of needs and understanding and wants that she has, whether they're, back home in the UK for me or here in Canada.
And I love that. When we were looking at this part of the case study, and then the Deb Hall part of the case study, and really about like what was the natural extension from the small screen, the big screen, but into real life, those like IRL token moments that we talk about now, and getting there.
Yeah. And building that pipeline from that digital, helping other people get there, being able to help, obviously for her, Black creators, Black individuals, for Deb, being able to help those creators get to the big screen and be able to like understand what it'd be like if that pipeline already existed. And then as a creator, be able to access that audience without having to have that technical know-how. And that's exactly what Deb Hall's done.
It's a real moment in time when you can say that you can get from the bedroom to the billboard in the same year now.
Yeah.
It's like a defining era.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to talk to Deb. Great. So, Deb, we've just looked at Issa Rae's journey from the kind of digital through to the physical. Hers was obviously a frustration with not being given the platform and having to build her own pipeline. What was the specific frustration that you and Mike were kind of looking at when you co-founded Dive?
So Mike and I came from opposite ends of the media landscape. Mike had founded a company with his business partner, Jake, in the out-of-home space. And I had founded a mobile company that I had sold to Torstar as well. And we serendipitously had sold our companies at very similar time frames, but we were also coming at the advertising journey from completely different ends of the spectrum. So it was a perfect time to come together. It was a very fast, we always joke that it was a 9-minute meeting. And we knew, we could feel the explosion of content creation on mobile devices. And so we knew eventually brands would want to bring that content to the physical world. Yeah. And so it was a great bet for us.
Yeah, and you were right. Obviously, the like explosion of content. What did you find in terms of like the feedback you were getting? Like a lot of disruptors, a lot of innovators often hear no. What kind of no's were you hearing, and what did you do about it?
Yeah, we heard a lot of no's in the early days, but we were still, very, very resilient and positive-minded about it. We were often brands and media planners would say to us, "Well, that type of content is not meant for digital out-of-home screens. Where's the brand safety? How are we going to guarantee that some comment that doesn't belong ends up up there?" So that actually gave us an opportunity to build a platform where we could get those approvals embedded in the platform. So it actually formed some of the spec for our early product. So that was actually,
iterated.
Yeah, it was really
product.
a gift like that. No, we're like, okay, brand safety is really important. It started to teach us what was important to bring that forward as some of our like version 1 of our product. And then we another creative way we got around the objection is we would say, okay, if you don't want to put this content on billboards, let's put it on your existing screens in your office, so you guys can have an opportunity to test the content. You can see what we're talking about. So a lot of agencies took us up on that, and that was a great opportunity for us to remain top of mind with those agencies and brands. And it gave us a chance to, have clients that needed new things and get feedback, always on feedback for our product. So
I guess seeing it,
they ended
seeing
up
it in real life, you needed to kind of like understand it and really like get a feel for it.
Yeah, and there's nothing like the physical world. Like the physical world ad unit is like a glance medium. And if you're doing a great job at that, you're stopping people in in their tracks, right? So it's like can't miss it, and that's what I love about the space. It's just that opportunity to surprise someone with a new piece of content or something something they weren't expecting, and that's where the creativity comes in. There's just an amazing canvas for all types of content.
Yeah,
I'm naturally very curious about what kind of content you put in this, like in the ad agencies as those early tests that would be targeting towards them to capture their interest.
Well, it literally would be their clients' social handles, which at that time a lot of brands, like even agency clients, would have social handles that the agencies didn't know about. So when we would just rebroadcast like a Twitter feed of their client, and then they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't know our client was tweeting this and that." So it would be an always-on system that just showed back what their clients were talking about. For better or for worse. And then they're like, oh, we need to get on top of that. We need to get on top of that. So it would be almost like a living dashboard, like right within their lobby.
I mean, a brilliant way to stay top of mind.
Yeah, exactly.
You know that I love to talk about starting with your own pain and that moment of validation. And I just feel like you have one of the best stories for moments of validation because it was time fucking square. And I don't know how else to say that, but like in any world where your moment of like truth is that big, tell us, like what does that feel like? What was that? Like walk us through.
Oh, I woke up shaking that morning, like 7:30 that morning. I was staying right on Times Square so that I could just run out the front door of the hotel and look at the screen.
Could you see the screen from your hotel
Pretty
room?
much, like I could see the corner of it.
It's watching you.
Yeah, I was just too excited and nervous. And so that moment came when the billboard was just about to wipe, and it was about to wipe the Twitter blue. And it literally, like a canvas bigger than I could even imagine, wiped that Twitter blue and then just held for that minute, that like second, right?
Probably felt like a minute.
It felt like a minute. It felt like an hour in my heart. And then my heart it just literally stopped. And then the tweets started to roll. And that was like so many amazing brands. That was like Game of Thrones, Twitter, all the HBO people, everyone around. And it was also pouring rain on top of that. It was literally the heavens were open. So the screen, that was the kind of the benefit of it, is the screen it popped. It looked like this crisp, beautiful blue.
Everyone's
and
drenched.
Our
It
work
looks gorgeous.
Like we were all hiding, and we had to kind of get to know each other. I'd only met most of the team on email before, but we were all huddled under these umbrellas. So we were fast friends, right? Just and that was a 24-hour. It was the first time we'd run a 24-hour campaign. So it was something like 2,900 pieces of creative when it used to be 4 pieces of creative running. So that was the novelty of that campaign, is people's comments about the show were featured, the finale, their favorite character. We were watching the data from Twitter as it was happening, and every time a character would trend throughout the day, we'd replace the sequence of creative with that character. So we were pushing all the innovation buttons. We were really trying a bunch of things that hadn't been done before.
Can you imagine? And like, so this is pre-DCO, right? Tech,
Yes.
right? This is the 2,900 pieces of creative. No, it's like
no scheduler. The data was scheduling the creative, so that was also part of the power of a great team, right? We were just a lot of us that on the team that were of the tech, like from the technology side. It was all like a dream to watch this unfold.
Did you sit there for the whole 24 hours?
Oh yeah,
yeah. You watched every minute of that.
There's a little Starbucks in Times Square that I started to get to be good friends with because we'd have to go in and huddle and warm our hands up and then run back out. Yeah, it was incredible.
You talk about building fast friends. I feel like that's pretty on brand. As somebody who's met you many times, and what we were talking about earlier was the campaign that you're talking about is the campaign that I got to present an award to you for on stage, and I didn't even remember that this was the campaign. What I remembered is the moment of you winning and me being able to present that to you, and like the sheer giddiness between the two of us. Like I was like, this was such a great campaign. I remember judging it, and then you like coming out, oh my God, it was like this. It was a moment. It was a moment. There was two twos. It was ridiculous, but it was a moment.
That's the incredible amount of reward you get when you've worked like so hard at something and you've tried so many. It just, the payoff is incredible. Just the pride from the team that like we all worked so hard on that together, and it was just an amazing opportunity.
Especially when you've heard so many people saying it's not possible, no one's going to want to do it. Like that content should say on the small screen, and you're like, here you go.
Yeah.
Like
Let's
winning
try it
awards
here.
for it, seeing it up in Times Square. Like, you've really kind of shown them what for.
Yeah, it took us a while. Like it wasn't an overnight. It took us a while to get there. So it was even sweeter.
And you have a global team.
Yes.
And obviously we've touched on a little bit about the massive tech complexity of what it is that you do at scale globally. But what I'm dying to know is, how do you do that and have a value that is take fun seriously, which like I'm stealing. I'm stealing, I'm adopting. I love that this is part of your value set, but you have large enterprise clients and deadlines that you've just described. You kicked that whole thing off in 10 days. Yeah. I remember that. Like 10 days, she had to put this whole thing together. Times Square's approval, the whole thing. There was flowers, there was things everywhere. You have these tight deadlines. How do you keep that in your...
Yeah, I mean, it really is, it's infectious. People want to be in a good mood, right? They do want to have a good time. Like, we're humans, we're built for that. And there's always a creative way to get, I truly believe there's another way to do things. If you sit back, take a breath, talk to each other. There's just, and so we've had the fortune of like finding like-minded folks to join our team. We spend a very short amount of time together each morning to do that, to kind of have a reset. Just like, what are we doing? How can we like clear blockers for each other? How can we just like take a breath, think about what we have, do things differently? And that has really impacted. It's changed the way we work. And then when we're getting too much like, okay, everything's very operational, it's very, very serious, we have a lot of, internal like jokes or ways of keeping it lighter, because life is short, right? And we have to love what we do. We love what we do.
Yeah.
And we want everyone to have a good time at their job. So that's one of the mantras that we use to kind of like keep it together, keep it real, keep it light, right? Just
Claire,
to make it fun
Claire
to
has
work
a
with.
really good philosophy that is,
In what way?
your don't be a dick life advice.
Yeah. My one piece of life advice is just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Because, it's better for everyone, but it's also better for you. Like,
Yes.
you get the best out of life if
Big
you...
time.
You're with rose-tinted glasses.
And kindness,
Most definitely.
right?
Yes.
And like that's kind of comes through in the taking your fun seriously is just also taking kindness seriously. Like, is there another way we could go about this? That's like,
You were also saying earlier you took all your team to the Dominican.
Yeah.
Like, to do offsite. How did that come about? How was that?
Well, we'd worked together for 2 or 3 years. All of us all around the world, everywhere from Argentina, Brazil, like Colombia. It's just incredible that we've been so blessed to work in so many global markets as a company based in Toronto. So we wanted to do something in person where we could meet each other. We'd all just been remote working on video, and it was just game changing for us actually, because now we understand culturally to understand each other. Being
as
in
humans.
person as humans, and just like knowing where we all come from and understanding the world from different perspectives. Because as founders, Mike and I had never even traveled to all the places where our employees are. So it was really important to meet everyone in person and just to get to know them as humans as well.
I think that's definitely taking the fun seriously.
Yeah.
Getting everyone into a different country all together for the
Yeah,
first time. Absolutely.
definitely.
And does that kind of in-person connection, and obviously you talk about kind of how you connect weekly meetings, things like that. Does that help you keep abreast of like changes? Obviously, your example that you gave earlier was Twitter. The heydays of Twitter.
Yes.
Sadly, no more overall. How do you keep on top of the tides of change, like the rise of TikTok, obviously changes in Snapchat that we were chatting about earlier? Like, how do you and a team manage that?
So we've got a lot of platform partners. Like TikTok's one of our big partners. So we partner with them and rely on them to keep us updated.
Yeah.
That's also the benefit of the global team is there's different trends and different the way the products show up in different regions of the world.
Yeah. They test things in different
It
markets.
really is
Yeah.
incredible. So we have our own team keeping us up to date, keeping us all up to date, but also our platform partners have been amazing to work with, just because a lot of them are the ones bringing us in on the brief, and then we're layering in all the magic of the physical world.
Yeah.
So it's like, imagine this at retail, imagine this on an in-home CTV screen, imagine this on a massive Times Square billboard, imagine this on a billboard in Japan.
Yeah.
So the canvas has become, like, our creativity is just always, there's always so many ways that we could bring it to the
Yeah.
physical world.
And you've brought in like outside boards, like custom boards to be able to prop up specific locations where the location fits the execution, but there isn't necessarily the technology.
Yeah, that's been a blessing as well, is just having these amazing portable billboards that we can bring into retail environments, to events. Our sister company, Big Digital, specializes in that. So it's also helpful to have an innovation partner in Toronto that we can, go down the road, pilot some things, and then we shipped some of those billboards as far as Indonesia.
Wow.
So I've always wanted to go to Indonesia. Our billboards have been.
Oh, you didn't get to go
I didn't get to go.
It's
on my
very
list.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
But yeah, just as an example, it's like for beauty brands, it allows you to see all of the products in action as you're looking at a shelf of products to buy. So it is quite a powerful conversion method for retailers.
Yeah, and you kind of kept that kind of digital to physical when you said you moved into retail, into connected TV.
Yeah.
Like, how did they come about?
So they came about, we were like starting to run out of the mix of digital out-of-home boards. And then we thought connected TV offers this amazing audience targeting. So we could find audience and then layer it on with the billboards. So we had this like suite of products where it would be new discovery for platform content. So if, let's say, a TikTok is trending in a particular category, we could take that trending content and push it to a billboard, push it to retail, push it to connected TV. And with our system, we'd have that speed to market and that moderation to make it brand safe.
Yeah.
And brands were really are still really interested in that because it's so easy for them. They can press the button, and the creative and everything is handled by our system.
Especially when it's creator led and they're using products and they're like, right, all of those, like
And
the
it's
unboxing,
working.
the live unboxing, all the things that you can really then start to sync up to those moments. My brain just went on gangbusters, as it naturally does.
And you mentioned obviously the glance media, like when you're bringing creator content to connected TV, like it's just not something you expect to see there in the same way. Yeah.
And audiences that aren't on platform, they can digest it. So it's bringing into a lean back environment. You're bringing in this lean in content. So that's the nice mix, is you could have people that have never been on TikTok before, but then they experience a CTV ad with that amazing content. And that's where the magic lies, is then that you don't have to understand the platform to watch that ad. You don't have to understand it to look at a billboard. And if you see it in retail, it's going to make you buy something you might not have.
Yeah,
might
brings
not have
that
thought of buying
personality.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you have something that is definitely a little six-sweet on the money for us, a habit that you have in your boardroom about how you start off meetings. You wanna tell us a little bit about that?
So it started a bit informally, but we would just start to say out loud platforms or brands that we wanted to work with. and we would just make words out of them. And then we thought it was a little bit like an accident. Then we'd have a brand, we'd get a brief from that brand. So now we just do it. We like literally will make words. If it's like a certain suitcase brand or this brand, we'll just start saying it. And incredibly, we're either at the right place, right time where it's happening. But now we don't second guess it. We just try saying the words out loud and see what the universe brings to us.
Manifest it into being.
Manifest it into being. I love this.
But yeah, it's our sixth sense. I've always believed in the sixth sense and the power of the subconscious and just being able to bring things forward. And when you believe, like you truly believe, things happen. So
I'm already, I don't know, like, did you already start percolating? Like, oh, I want to pitch this to
100%.
Yeah, so did I with you. I'm there with you. I don't know that I had anything else to say.
No.
We covered so much.
Thank you, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks for the opportunity.
We are like the most glad that you are here. I don't have words.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You're doing something great here. I'm excited to be a part of it.
So we have one question, Deb, that we ask everyone before they leave, and that is, so not for wealth or health or for business, but if you could leave behind one piece of advice that was about living your best life, what would it be?
Would definitely be to believe in yourself. So that's something that it took me a while to learn, but it is those little micro moments when you're saying things to yourself, being very like almost clinical about, is that a positive thing to say to yourself right now? And that can be very helpful because we're often our worst critic, but it's in those tiny little things that we say to ourselves. And there's a lot of power in the little moments to get a maximum out of a day.
A lot of you got those moments.
Yeah.
We also like for our guests to leave behind a question, like a little Easter egg for the next guest. What question would you like to leave for our next guest?
What has been the biggest thing that has helped you in your career?
That would be awesome for us to understand. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries.
Appreciate it, Deb.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, well, thank you again for being with us here today. On that, we would just like to say the system doesn't change by asking nicely. It changes when you build a better pipeline.
Great. So that was so much fun. I love chatting with Deb.
Deb is just the best energy. I have no other words for how infectious it is to work alongside of her and how she radiates positivity.
Yeah, you can totally imagine working for her. I definitely would. So, hearing what we've just heard from Deb and obviously our case study earlier with Issa, how would you sum this up for us in our 6 points?
They really came down to one word for me, and that was sovereignty. And that was because both Issa and Deb didn't ask for a seat at the table. They just built their own table. And they followed such similar blueprints. So the first thing is niche is mainstream. Don't water down your product. Really, really distill it down to serve the people that are starving for it, because deep engagement scales so much better than indifference. The next thing is absolutely network across, not just up. And you know I'm a big advocate of rising tides raise all ships. I've said that a million times, and I desperately believe that. And in both of these cases, what you heard was people, really great people, coming together across their networks and building something together. And that is where you build true resilience from, when you work with people that you really want to work with and that you also want to succeed. The third thing that is absolutely an important call out, the messy middle is your opportunity. I think Deb actually talked about this, but she had buyers tell her that the content was too messy, that it couldn't be seen on their billboards. And the thing is like she didn't quit. She like built a mop. You know, she got in there. She got in there to like, okay, because when the industry tells you that something is operationally painful, that is your billion-dollar idea. That is, do the thing that nobody else is doing and do it well. And the fourth thing, use data to de-risk your dream. And I know you know, we're both data nerds. And we absolutely love insights and data and what it can provide. In Issa's experience, she didn't go to HBO and pitch her dream. She went there with like scads of data from what she had learned about the years that she had put in YouTube, about her audience, about what she was doing. And that really helped when you stop pitching your passion and you start pitching proof. So use the data, all of it, to help you pitch better, move forward. Number 5, own the infrastructure. And I can't stress this enough when we're talking about the importance of building the plumbing that you really need, building the pipeline. There's a great saying that you can't rent your way to freedom. Both of these cases, they really did that. They got in. They built platforms that were there for the delivery. In the case of Dive, and Issa built Hooray and Color Creative, which were huge pipelines in the creative side of the industry. And so, build the rails. And of course, last, number 6, always the unconventional move or the sixth sense. Sometimes strategy on its own just isn't enough. You really have to have a little bit of audacity, whether that's raising and bootstrapping with Kickstarters or saying your client's name and your wish list out loud. You really got to create your own green lights.
Yeah, I love that. Really, really clear. 6 things, what people can take from it, how they can apply it to their life and their business. Absolutely. So I think that's us finished for today, and we have been The Sixth Suite with Claire Raven Street
And Nikki Snow.
Thank you so much for joining.